indicated that because the consent decree was withdrawn, the settlement agreement has no teeth. And it seems to me that we need to know that because we're paying an awful lot of money for this evaluation, for the positions that are a part of it. So I would just like to know because I thought it had some teeth.
I'm of the impression that it does as well. It is enforceable by the court. There is coercive authority, and it is backed through the work of the California Department of Justice. The city attorney has not said that to us, and so we'll follow up on that. But the agreement is enforceable in court.
Thank you.
Hi, blessings. I'm just a little concerned. When I came in and I heard you speaking, one of the things that you said was, you know, we want to hear you, we want to implement and do the things that is necessary for the community. Well, I still don't feel safe. I need you to be clear. I started not to come to this meeting because I've come to too many. We hear the same identical thing that you just said. The only thing that's missing is the pieces of paper on the wall where we write down what the community wants. And you can go back some years, and you open up that door and a whole lot of information will come out and we'll be saying the same things that we're saying today. You need to listen to what we're saying. Implementation is not happening. A lot of talk, a lot of this is what we're going to do. And you guys go home, and at the end of the day, we're still dealing with it. We got a new city manager, right? Very nice man, but at the end of the day, he put back in a gentleman that enforces and supports men, that police officers that have killed our people, been the badges. So how do we really move forward when we're still doing the same as it's ever been? We talk about it over and over and over again. When are we going to get to the point that we are losing our people? Some of this stuff starts in the home. The police can't do everything, but we got police in here that are murdering us, and you guys sit up here and talk about, you know, what we're going to do, but we don't see it. Listen to what these gentlemen said to you. Listen to what those sisters over there are saying to you. Can we see some actual change? Changing in the narrative, changing in the actions so that we can finally feel safe and not always have to listen to gunfire. I don't want to hear about what's happening all over the country because I live right here in River City. Okay? And so I want change, no more talk. Well, I'm not coming back to any more of these daggone meetings.
I wanted to say one more thing before I leave. First of all, thank you guys for coming here and listening to the community. One thing is cultural competencies. I really don't believe that police need to teach us anything. What they need to do is they need to understand about the culture that they're policing. Because when you come into my neighborhood and you see baggy pants or dreadlocks or fades or bald heads and afros, you need to know what that's about. That doesn't automatically dictate gang violence or participation. They don't need to teach us nothing. What they need to do is learn about the communities that they're policing. This is called cultural competency. So these officers need to come to some type of training to learn about African Americans, about individuals who happen to be from the Latin community, or whites that might be living in the same communities that we are, because it's about culture. And you can't bring your Brickwood mindset to Vallejo and try to police us because you don't understand what's going on. That's one thing. That's one thing. And for the Police Oversight Commission, the other thing I want to say is that we've been presented with a situation to be able to be influencers or individuals that are going to be in the line of being influential, when we are not going to be presented with any emails. Where's our email line for the community to get at us about their concerns so that we can address it to them? They haven't presented us with no emails. Where's our phones at that individuals can get at us and call us, Commissioner Clark, commissioner, whomever, to let us know, hey, this is a situation that's taking place, so that we can be able to inform them. We gotta do this for ourselves. We don't get paid to do this. We do this for the community. Being paid is seeing the growth and development in the community. But you're not gonna help us have an email? You're not gonna help us have a telephone line so that we can get at this community? Then what's gonna be translated? What's gonna be getting back to them? What are they gonna be telling us about what's taking place based off their data? What data do you have? If we're not giving it to you as a commission? I don't care about what took place in court. I don't care about how you're trying to correct it and justify your actions. Writing on these forms, we have a police oversight commission because it was a part of a fucking condition. And you ain't utilizing us. 2 years, you're not utilizing us. You know how many youngsters I seen get killed in the streets of Vallejo within the last 2 years? As a nonprofit that gives services to our Tay youth and our individuals that's coming home from prison, don't tell me you're gonna give me something and then, come on, man, you know what kind of real stuff we're dealing with in the community? And you wanna play games with it? Don't play. If we're gonna do this, let's do it. Let's do it. Give me an email so they can get at me. Give me a phone so they can get at me. Or us. Come up in here looking for numbers and statistics. I'm out.
Hello, my name's Ann Carr. I'm a Vallejo native, and I would tell you how long I've lived here, but I can't count that high. I'm joking. So I was born and raised here, went to school, left for college, and came back 15 years ago. And consultants love to do what they call word clouds. So I have some words for your word cloud. The first one is despair, and that is despair because nothing has changed. The second is hostage, and that is it feels like the Vallejo Police Department or the Vallejo Police Union does not want to service the Vallejo community, and I feel like they hold us hostage, that they basically have an attitude of defiance and entitlement and justification, and they pretty much stopped working. So a year ago, we had 10 to 12 people who were on long-term medical leave, and I believe the strategy was to milk that until they could retire under disability, right? And so when you said that you wanted to hear about how we see police services in this town, it's like, what police services? We have 34 people officers who might be available for patrol total, giving some nights as few as 3 people on duty. You've got to be joking. So there are no police services, just regular services, let alone reform. You've got to be joking. I mean, when you said that, I was like, how long have you been coming around here? Or are you completely ignorant? And I'm not being hostile, but it's just pathetic. And then the last thing I'm gonna say, the last word for your word cloud is glacial. And the only word that could be substituted would be reverse progress, because I'm wondering, you have this new work plan that you feel satisfied that you're making some progress on. I'd love to see that work plan. I don't know that it's ever been brought forward to anybody in the community, let alone the commission that is supposed to have oversight responsibility. I would love to see, how does it correlate to the 45 suggestions? Whatever happened to that plan? It's pathetic, it really is. So if you pat yourself on the back and say, oh, we've got substantial progress on this, I can assure you from the community, we are not seeing it.
I also have served on our critical incident review board as a community member that has been leveraged in that space. I also am a master's level clinician serving in the Vallejo Clinic. I've been present when our police department has undertaken CIT training, which is crisis intervention training. That has been one of the avenues for them to get trained. Our organization, Tabby Moms, is coming on as a partner on the iHeart initiative, which is our local mobile crisis. And in that, our responsibility will include not only educating and providing families with the tools to best support their loved ones who come in contact with mobile crisis, but also to provide a level of trauma-informed training to the department as well as the operators of mobile crisis. And so it's important when I hear that, excuse me, you know, our police commissioner and so many others in this room who have expressed the need to have a culturally competent training within our department. That's very true. Because there's so many gaps when it comes to what exactly is it that these officers need in order to effectively do their job, right? Without harming, because everybody wants to go home at the end of the day. Us as citizens, and them as those who are serving in those roles. And so I just wanted to just lift that up as, I get it. Our community is struggling. So many of us are impacted, whether we live here, whether we work here, every single one of us, and even me as a clinician that lives in this community and serves in this community. Our well-being is at stake. We need functionality in this state. There's been a lot of instability when it comes to the leadership in this city. There's been a lot of holding back when it comes to our city attorney's office, right? A lot of things can't move forward, whether it's a PD, whether it's community, or whether it's whoever it is, or whether it's a commission. The city attorney's office really stagnates a lot of these issues that we have to really push back and say, what is this? How do we look at reforming or addressing the challenges that you are pushing against all these systems, us as community members, and holding us hostage? Somebody said holding us hostage in here. Because that's exactly what I feel. I feel that too.
Our city attorney doesn't live here. Our city attorney doesn't live.
None of the upper staff lives here. None
Right,
of
no,
them.
I mean, they don't experience what we're experiencing, and we're afraid.
Right.
We're afraid in our homes. I live 3 blocks away. I didn't walk here tonight. I drove because I'm afraid. And we have a lot of great people here, but you know, we don't have enough police. We don't have police that are doing their jobs. Everybody's afraid.
Everyone's afraid of what's happening in this community. I'm a single mama of 3 babies. All 3 of my babies can't even go to school in the community that they live in. I am traveling up and down the highway Monday through Friday to Oakland and back to Vallejo and dropping my kids off, picking them up. What does that look like for so many of us who have to, nobody should have to make that type of decision. So when that young woman left, we all have a shared responsibility in this. All of us. It's not just police, it's community too. We have a shared responsibility.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm a resident and an attorney formerly at the ACLU of Northern California. Our colleagues right there. I just had three quick questions. One, I'm curious what, for each item that you are all working on, what is the racial equity analysis that's happening on the front end and then on the back end? Secondarily, I'm curious if any of these things have an economic analysis. So while it's true that we don't have enough police, it's also true that the police generally are not delivering services, right? So if you're always asking for increased police funding, but there's no economic analysis as to whether or not the funding is actually yielding or producing results or the services that people are paying for, when it's all kinds of other things that need to be paid for too, that's the issue. So I'm curious if there's any economic analysis to any of these things that are being implemented. And then third, I'm curious what model y'all are all drawing from as the example of success, because we know in Ferguson and all kinds of other places, there was all sorts of agreements with the Department of Justice, all sorts of things that were said to have been implemented, but then when we look 10 years later, 15 years later, all of the things are still the same, more or less, despite those agreements. So that was my third question. And I know that there's always this pull for data. I see it in my work all the time, but for the most part, we don't need that, because for as long as RIPA has existed, the Racial Identity Profiling Act, we've known that Black and brown folks are disproportionately pulled over, disproportionately ticketed. They don't disproportionately have contraband actions after the stop, or disproportionately borne on Black folks. The RIPA board just did their report out last year. This is true for Black and brown youth as well. Last week. But we knew that before RIPA existed, right? The first Driving While Black report from the ACLU came out in the 80s. And in my work, we put out like 3 or 4 others, right? So we always know that the data is there, but nothing has ever changed. So we don't need the quantitative analysis, because we know that. We kind of don't really need the qualitative analysis either, because we know that too, right? We know the police aren't serving community. So I'm just curious on those things, like what model you're drawing from in terms of the longitudinal success of any of these reforms, and then what is the racial analysis as to each point, beginning and the end, and the economic analysis.
And that's all part of the ongoing assessment and evaluation. We have a PhD working with the team, and as we move to evaluation, because right now we're still in setup, those issues will become apparent. And as you well know, they're endemic, they're institutionalized, and those are really where the work needs to occur.
Hi, my name is Paula Conley. I have a few things to say. So the police union likes to troll us on our Vallejo City Politics page and jump in once in a while to give their comments and basically gaslight us and tell us we don't understand anything that's going on. We don't understand about hiring. We don't understand what's actually happening. And actually, they said they're not interested in reforms. Reforms don't get officers. Money gets officers. My suggestion is, if they're only interested in money, perhaps they should be mercenaries for hire at this point, because that's not what we want in our city. I also had a police officer, when talking about the imminent announcement of a new permanent police chief, say he would be really concerned about a police chief coming in from the outside who doesn't know us. And I thought, I bet you would, because things would change, wouldn't they? So it is absolutely outrageous, after having tried to help our new city manager to understand what our city has been dealing with for decades. He doesn't have a background, he doesn't live here, and we've tried to bring him up to speed on what the important things are here. And he chose to install the interim chief of the last 2 years, who told us, I don't know, a year ago that 90% of the reforms were done, which is not true. They've continually been out of compliance. And I'm sorry, but this is a mistake that needs to be corrected. I know that this is not under your purview, but everyone here needs to insist that we reinstitute a search for a permanent police chief. And this is what I have to say. The role of the police chief is vital to changing the culture of our department and the relationship with the public it serves. Vallejo has a contentious history between citizens and our department, and therefore needs an exceptional leader to handle it and move the department forward and fill our vacancies. Chief Taw has been ineffective and has had ample time to show what he can do. It is essential to make a course correction and reinstitute a nationwide search for a permanent police chief. Vallejo cannot continue to make poor decisions and, instead of correcting those decisions, telling the public we just have to live with it.
I would just like to say that for at least, I know, the last 12 years, this community of Vallejo has been very active in standing up for public safety, not just for the police department, but for the people who are supposed to be protected by the police officers. Anytime you have murderers on a police force and you try to push things forward as if these murderers don't exist there, you're not working towards reform. You're continuing cover-ups. Okay, this is well known in our city. We have a big problem, which is officers murdering community members from all backgrounds. The DOJ, you guys, you know, they failed. Jensen and Hughes, you've done very poorly as well. No one's reached out to impacted families or people who live here. This is not a matter of the community not coming together. Because for 12 years, I've been trying to get justice for my brother who was murdered by a Vallejo police officer who murdered 3 people in 5 months. And so for anybody to sit here or stand here and act as if this is normal, then you guys are the ones with the problem. Because we're not. We're tired of begging for the basics to be protected against murderers with badges who have a license to kill. We expect for you to step up. Yes, we are very pleased that we have a new mayor and new city council, and we are hopeful. But without you guys doing your jobs and making sure that you are enforcing and coming up with realistic plans that will help keep the public safety from murdering cops, okay? Nobody is going to want to work with cops who are killers to turn in other killers who are not cops. They're just the same. So it makes no sense. You can't just take something dirty and murderous and try to stack upon it good things for the community, because that's not going to work. You know, where that, it's not just a matter of one bad apple. This is a culture. And that's not to say that there are not good officers on the Vallejo Police Department, but an officer who knows that other officers are murdering people is not a good officer, okay? And an officer who knows that if he says something, he'll probably be murdered too, you know, that says something as well. So I really hope that you guys step up, because at this point, this is a lawless city of a lawless police department. This is not about the community. Yeah, there are crimes and different things that are going on, but you know why that stuff has been encouraged? Because everybody in the Bay Area knows that Vallejo police are not trusted by its citizens. And nobody is going to say, hey, this, that, or the other, because how are they going to say something to try to correct a problem when the problem is coming from the actual people who provide public safety? They are creating the scenario that you can come here and kill people, that you can do things recklessly and harm people and there will be no accountability. So I really hope that you guys step up, you know, do not continue to brush things under the rug and have realistic solutions. We will never go away from the murder of our loved ones. You will have to deal with us for as long as you are here doing this job. I will never stop fighting for my brother. Just like if your loved one was murdered, you would not stop fighting. If your loved one was missing, you would not stop looking for them. And we are missing justice, okay? We are missing justice, and it keeps us up at night. And it makes us think about who's going to be next. Everybody in this room is thinking about the current president and how the attitude of police officers, you know, it comes from the top. So that means they're going to be comfortable again with being okay to murder people. Murderers don't change. And we're talking about officers who've killed multiple people, not just, you know, one officer or one problem. I mean, I don't even know how you guys even sit there and read through the documents and things that you have and are able to even look at us with a straight face, because you know something is horribly wrong here. Horribly wrong. And I hope you have the compassion and the decency to be able to care about us as a community, because our city council can only do so much. And anytime you have a judge say, hey, well, I know you guys ordered this, but I'm not gonna enforce it, I throw my hands up. This is the wild, wild west. How come nobody can do anything to help Vallejo? We saw what happened to George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, and, you know, things were done. All the people that have been murdered here and nothing has been done, there's something wrong with that. And with that said, we are hopeful, we are moving forward, but we are not forgetting the horror that has been placed upon us and the terrorism that we have suffered at the hands of our police department and at the hands of city officials who did not care about human life. And with that, that's it. I'm gonna leave it at that. Thank you.